Hello, and welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. We are coming to you live from Phoenix, Arizona. This is episode 42 of True Crime in the Morning. We will take a close look at the Noah Presgrove case. This is a very tragic case. My heart goes out to his friends and his family. Looks like all they want in regards to Noah is why. The frustration behind this case is law enforcement continues to reinforce the idea that it was not a hit and run, that his wounds are not consistent, maybe even that some of his wounds are may have taken place maybe an hour or so prior, and then there's secondary wounds. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with this case. He was a 19-year-old boy, just graduated a year before at a birthday party, 4-day binger, Labor Day. We're going to look at some footage from that party. He was found less than a mile away. His friends stated that he wanted to go for a walk, but he was found basically naked, his pants folded up nearby, and it appeared that his underwear may have been torn off or was also nearby. He was found in the fetal position on the side of the road, closest to the train tracks, kind of facing towards the tracks. And a few of his teeth were not far away. So there's going to be a lot of morbid details about this case. So I do want to put up this warning. Be a lot of graphic content. Viewer discretion is advised. And we'll get going here in just about 6 minutes. Good to see you, Christine Robbins, Beach Ferry. Welcome in. CJK, Patricia Warner, Caricature, how are you? Charlotte, always good to see you. GP, hello. Good morning, good afternoon. Night Shadow, good to see you. Miranda Lee, good morning, good afternoon. Top of the morning. Oh, you guys want to see something cool? Fresh off the press. That's legit right there. What do you guys think? With the hat? I'm going to be rocking that over the weekend. All right, guys, I need you to put your heads together on this one. Me personally, I believe that the wounds are consistent with a hit and run. He only had wounds to his upper body. I believe on the left side of his shoulder was road rash or gravel rash, and on his hip. There was some talks of forensic geology, people trying to determine if the pebbles or the debris embedded in his skin actually belonged to, let's say, a dirt road, a few miles up the road or something. But even though they were discussing it, I didn't hear any definitive answers on that. But law enforcement seems to put emphasis that suspicious circumstances. We're going to look at an interview that was put out by News Nation with Noah's brother. Noah's brother says that law enforcement pretty much has told them the evidence is not consistent with the hit and run, and that they actually have people that they're questioning from the party that he was at. And we might spend the majority of our time on that, and then we'll go over some of the ideas that I had of what might have happened. Like I said, it is very strange, the fact that they found his pants folded up. And we've seen that in other cases, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. I think the one that's coming to mind is the Maddox case. I think they had found clothing as well. So let me pull up the Josh Maddox stuff here. So they seem to think that he got stuck in the chimney in that case, but just below the chimney, he had his clothing folded. So I don't know what that's all about. Could be completely different. Just something that came to my mind. All these cases that we cover, finding a lot of similarities. GP says, I thought it was blunt force trauma to the head. So he had damage to his nose and his cheek. I think his whole face was pretty much fractured. And then he had a huge, I don't know what you'd call it, a contusion. But his skull was basically caved in the back. And I'll tell you what I think happened based off of that information. But I want to provide you guys with all of the details, quick overview, and then I want to hear what you have to say. And anybody who's part of the replay crew, especially you forensic experts, retired law enforcement, CSI, let me know what you think in the replay crew based on the information that's been provided to the public. He was naked. He had all he had on were shoes, one belonging to him and one belonging to his friend. So this tells me he was disoriented and most likely drunk. Because if he was running away from somebody, he wouldn't take the time to put on two random shoes. He'd be getting attacked at that moment. He would just take off running out of the home. What the hell? Caricature says somebody from my city came with her husband and kids to Bear Mountain in Sedona last week, and he pushed her off. He was holding their 10-month baby. I've heard of stuff like that happening. I think a few years back, a gentleman was convicted of murder that same way. Also, I think in Chicago and in New York, they have problems with people pushing folks into the subway train onto the tracks. It's just pure evil, hopelessness. Let me see. Let's go ahead and I think we should look at some of these, I guess, mainstream reports that were put out, serve as a quick overview of the case. And then News Nation put out some really good coverage of the case. We'll finish with that, and then we'll go into the discussion. And I think there's an article also that I'll read before we get deep into anything, and then I'll get your guys' opinion. I'm telling you, this is a very strange case. If you would have come up to the scene and you weren't an expert or taking a close look, you'd be like, oh man, this is a horrible hit and run. But then you start looking, okay, if he was hit, why are his teeth here? Why is he in the fetal position? Why does he only have damage to the front or the upper part of his body? The majority of it was on the left side. And then the back of his skull was caved in. All right, this is just a quick minute video. Looks like his sisters and his mother are kind of sitting and talking with some news station. Okay, guys, let me know right away if you cannot hear this audio.
Know that he's okay and that we will be okay, but I think it would make it easier if we knew why.
A family forever left with a missing piece after 19-year-old Noah Presgrove's death back in
It's a
September.
good-looking kid.
Nearly 3 months later, they
Had his
say
whole
they're
life ahead
no
of him.
closer to finding the truth.
Like, we're still in the same position, still kind of stagnant in a sense.
That must be grandma.
And we're still wanting answers. Other than that, that's kind of where we're at.
Presgrove was found dead on the side of Highway 81 on September 4th, and the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation declared his death suspicious the next day. The organization is assisting Oklahoma Highway Patrol in that investigation, who says they're not releasing any details to maintain the, quote, integrity of the investigation. The teen's family says they just want answers.
Even if it was an accident, like, it doesn't matter. Come clean. It hurts not to know. It'll hurt knowing, but it hurts more not to know. And wondering and just thinking every night what happened.
Okay, maybe I should show you guys the party. So September 4th, this was like a whole Labor Day, like a 4-day birthday party, I think, for one of his friends who was turning 22, I believe. Now, I've located this person. We're not going to talk about her or anything like that, but there's not much going on right now other than what we know from the brother. And I'll show that to you guys here in just a little bit. But I think we should look at the party first. So real quick, let me see who we missed in the chat. Olivia, welcome in. Cindy, good to see you. Ziggy. Frank Meister. Miranda Lee. Thank you for the feedback, Candace. Appreciate it. Patricia, good to see you. Olivia says, well, the 22-year-old allowed a lot of underage drinking. See, this is how I grew up, partying like this, like all the way through high school and then a few years into like my adult, like 19, 20, 21. It wasn't until really like 21 where I kind of broke off and started doing different things and hanging out with new people. But I mean, there's this lingering, like you're taking a year off type of vibe. But man, we would party and drink for days. I remember one time somebody dared me to drink a whole bottle of Jack Daniels. That's the last thing I remember, was watching the bottle empty and going, this is gnarly. And then I woke up the next day with buckets all around me. I think I was like 17 at the time. And apparently I just kind of blacked out and said I was going to go to the restroom, and they found me like a block down the street, like behind a corner, pants completely down and just falling on my back. So I had tried to go to the restroom and passed out. So when you're reckless and young, and apparently according to his friends, he wandered off. And we're going to get a little bit of insight into his mindset and exactly what was going on at this party. Yeah, a whole bottle. And this party reminds, I was having flashbacks of my high school parties and things that we would do. Man, it was just like crazy. Hey, what's up, Kev? Good to see you. Seen about this on the news channel. What a horrible death. Maybe pushed from a moving vehicle. Not sure. Shout out Sleuth and crew. Welcome in, Kev. Yeah, this could have been an accident. Whenever you have alcohol and driving involved, like you could be facing manslaughter charges. Even if you come forward, they're going to say thank you, but then you're probably still going to get charged. And then maybe it's just you and a group of friends. Also, I have a theory that he wandered off and some of his friends went to go look for him and accidentally hit him. And because they were drinking, they couldn't really say anything about it. I mean, what else would be the motivation? If anybody was chasing him, why would he have like 2 random shoes on, his pants folded? And you'll see in this footage here, he's walking around with his shirt off and letting people draw on his butt. So he has no problem just walking around, especially if he's drunk. Well, that's what I get from this video here. Let's take a look.
Come on. Come on, Shady. Ah!
Okay, now that is Noah right there. Looks like they were drawing on his chest. I don't know if he has a tattoo, but there's something going on over here. But at this point, he doesn't seem to have any injuries to his face.
Shady. Ah! Damn.
This race, I will fucking. Dude, I'll just beat the.
Do you guys see that? The guy in the back? And they have a huge field right here. So they could have just been shooting back here or something. I don't know. But he looks like he has an issue and she's trying to talk to him.
I would just rather you know. I don't know where no, you slap me. I slap you. As far as I can. I do try.
That must be the birthday girl, huh? She's wearing that. What is that? A sash?
I trust me. I trust him. I trust him. Hit me. Go ahead. See, I wasn't.
Crazy. So how did something that seems to be just a bunch of people, being reckless, being young, how does that turn tragic? It feels like an accident, but law enforcement, they have all the details and they're very suspicious. And when I see this, I see possible jealousy. I mean, this dude's a stud. The girls love him. Beer pong, country music, and beer pong. I mean, what else could you ask for as a young person? Sad.
Which one?
Yeah, you got a lot of people back here. Did he rub somebody the wrong way?
Which one?
Yeah,
We got it. You see my wiener? Country pimp. One-on-one. Mike Tyson.
And why do you say one-on-one? Mike Tyson, are they fighting back there? They getting ready to fight? Beach Fairy says broken facial bones, teeth knocked out. Not all his teeth, some teeth, I believe. Not quite sure. The reports, I've seen some teeth. So I believe if it was a car that hit him head on, all his teeth would be gone. Unless he blocked like this. Oh, and his fingers were mangled. Maybe he saw the car coming and he put his hands out. They get wedged up into the grill. He kind of drags with his hands caught somewhat. Blackout. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Blackout. Happens all the time. Kid, yeah, holding the rifle. Let's go back to that. He seems to be the girl that's talking to the kid with the rifle. She seems to be standing in between Noah, his friend, and the guy holding the gun. But again, it could be innocent. You know, these are country boys. Yeah, this guy right here. Yes. Thank you for the email. We're going to look at that as well. I have that photo. It may even be on here where he shows his knuckles. I'm pretty sure I have that photo, but if not, I'll grab that one you just sent. Give me a moment. I'm grabbing something from my email. So thank you for sending that, Beach Fairy. I thought I had that. Alrighty. Not sure what that says. But yeah, his knuckles are definitely torn up. Was he in a fight? He kind of looks like he has I don't see any issues with his teeth. But it looks like he might be hurt right here. No scratches on his body. Something's on his arm, though. The hell is that? Hey, what's up, Don? Hey, Boston. What, slap him? I don't believe his neck was broken, from my understanding. I didn't hear anything about the neck or his back. All right, here's a quick map to kind of give you guys an idea. So Terral, Oklahoma, middle of the country. Noah lived about 45 minutes away from here. Just keep going up the highway and you'll run right into his town. So the story is he took off walking. So I don't know if he took off walking and stayed on the road. I have a feeling he went in this direction through the field. Now, if somebody went looking for him, they might have accidentally hit him in this area. And we'll take a closer look here as well. Good to see you, Jill. Welcome in. Thank you for that beach. Drunken play fighting. Perhaps someone was a sore loser and didn't like being shown up in front of the girls, etc. Took it elsewhere for round 2 when Noah was wasted. I mean, the kind of wounds that he had, it's much worse. It's almost like somebody would have had to bash his head in with something real heavy. I don't know. They seem, from everything I've gathered, they make it sound as if he was pushed out of the back of a vehicle. And I think if you hit your head hard enough, you might lose some teeth. So thrown out of a moving vehicle, he would hit his head and then kind of maybe roll a little bit, get some road rash. I don't know. I'm really curious to what all the witnesses told law enforcement about when he left. Because if all these people are kind of standing around, they're going to see him leave. Like, where are you going, man? Oh, I'm just going to go for a walk. Yeah. For the type of wounds that he had, if somebody did this to him, I think they would have to be highly motivated. Yeah, if he was hit directly, Boston, by a vehicle, I think all teeth would be gone. And I think it would be apparent. But because his fingers were mangled, I wonder if he saw the vehicle coming, stuck his hands out, and maybe he was already sitting on the ground. Vehicle rolls over his lower half and then makes contact with the upper half, wedges him under the car somewhat, and then drags him not very far, but just enough until he becomes unwedged, and then kind of rolls to where they found him. That's my theory, and we'll take a closer look at that. Let's go to, I think this report is from
died in Oklahoma.
News Nation. This will go over a little bit more of the facts of the case.
Died in Oklahoma at the age of 19. Investigators still haven't said how it happened or who might be responsible or really much of anything other than the death is suspicious. Tonight, we learned from Noah's family that when the teenager was found on the side of a highway back on Labor Day.
You know what that wound looks like now that I think about it? Let me pull it back up. It almost looks like a ring. I think that's where the girl hit him. See, it looks like a ring. So wherever her ring was on her hand is what left this mark, I believe. See it? Right here when she slaps him.
Tonight, we learned from Noah's family that when the teenager was found
I think that's probably what left that abrasion on his face right there.
on the side of a highway back on Labor Day, the back of his head was caved in. Some of his teeth were missing. His nose and his cheeks appeared broken. His fingertips were shredded. He was naked, except for a pair of mismatched shoes, one belonging to him and the other belonging to a friend. I'm joined now by Joseph Scott Morgan, a certified death investigator and distinguished scholar at Jacksonville State University. So, all right, Joe, I want to go over that list.
See, I just wish they would one time give us like a detailed description. Like, what does it mean to have your fingers mangled? To me, that's broken and kind of like pointing in the wrong direction, right? Mangled. But here, it almost makes it seem as if it's just like intense road rash. Like he was being dragged and he's kind of reaching.
I want to pop it up on the screen just sort of as a guide here, because with your prism and how you look at things, I thought maybe this would tell a story that we're not seeing. Start with this. The back of his head was caved in. Some of his teeth were missing and scattered where he was found. His nose and his cheeks appeared broken. His body seemed beaten and swollen. His fingertips were torn up. There was gravel under his nails. There was road rash.
Let's go to Miranda's comment here. It says the autopsy reports listed Presgrove's probable cause of death as multiple blunt force injuries. And I think if you get hit by a car, you're going to have multiple injuries, right? You're going to have the direct impact. If he's close to the ground, his head would then kind of smash back and hit the pavement. That could cause the abrasion on the back of the head. If the car's going fast enough and you block it with your hands, it might knock out some of your teeth, mangle your fingers, and then slam your head back onto the pavement. But law enforcement, I feel like they don't believe that's what happened.
On his
Maybe whoever did this to him dumped him near the road and kind of sprinkled his teeth around to make it appear as that's what had happened. So I don't know. I wonder if there's a way to tell if it was post-mortem or not, because it could have been some kind of a staging attempt.
His hip and gravel rash on his shoulder. We're working on getting the list up, but I know that
Oh, and also the gravel rash. Could he have gotten injured prior to this and it be completely unrelated, like the rash part? And then later on, he goes wandering off and gets hit by a vehicle, causing it to seem suspicious.
you have a good memory. So, Joseph Scott Morgan, what does that tell you?
Yeah, this large injury that Noah sustained to the back of his head is interesting to me, because that is likely a point of impact, perhaps. Now, that impact can arise from any number of things: falling from a moving vehicle as a pedestrian, maybe being pushed out. It could also arise from an attack that preceded being left on the side of the road. So for us in forensics, it's very important to examine that particular injury very carefully. And at the risk of being too gruesome here, we would shave the head in that area to pick up on any particular pattern. Sometimes the road will produce stuff, but you can.
Boston says his ribs looked bruised. I'm not seeing anything really.
And also have instruments that are used. Blunt trauma is what we're talking about here, Ash. And you
A
look
baseball
for that
bat or
abraded
something?
pattern there. So that's something that we would certainly look at, particularly as it applies to this head injury. It sounds horrible.
Yeah, exactly, Don.
I think you and I did a couple of cases together where there's a lot of talk
A
about,
wooden bat.
specific geographic locations of dirt or gravel.
Yeah.
Dirt here is not the same as dirt 15 blocks down the road. And so would there be an
Forensic
interest
geology.
in figuring out the gravel that was found on his hip, the gravel that was found on his shoulder versus the gravel where he was
That's what they're
actually
talking about.
discovered?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Forensic geology is what comes into play here. You begin to think about this area and the topography, also the composition of the local soil. And we're talking about a roadbed too. So folks at home will get an idea of what's referred to as like pea gravel. It's kind of the bed that's laid down. You can see it on the shoulders of the road. So I would want to make sure that anything that is recovered or was recovered from Noah's remains actually marries up with what you're seeing at that site, or did this occur elsewhere?
So I think that's very interesting. And I wonder if that plays into why law enforcement believes that he may have been murdered. But I think we're going to learn a lot more when we hear from his brother. He's actually going to be at the crime scene, and he's talking to a journalist there from News Nation, and he's explaining exactly what happened.
That's going to be very, very important here in this particular case, because I got to tell you, Ashley, I've worked a lot of cases over my career where we've had bodies that were dumped along the side of the road because it's convenient for that to happen.
Yeah. The other thing is the investigator told the family, this has to be quick, but the gravel rash happened first and the road rash happened when someone placed him on the highway.
Okay, let's play that back. This goes right with what you're saying, Don. Let's play this back.
Yeah. The other thing is the investigator told the family, this has to be quick, but the gravel rash happened first and the road rash happened when someone placed him on the highway.
Okay, yeah, sounds like a fight, dude. But I think he could have been in a fight. An hour, maybe 2 hours go by, and then he decides he wants to go for a walk. And that's when he's hit by a vehicle. Maybe even one of his friends that went looking, and they couldn't explain it because they had been drinking. Or maybe something bad happened and they targeted him. A lot of alcohol involved. You never know. Mistakes can be made. Now, that's pure speculation, but you wonder what the hell would motivate somebody to do that to him. So, I don't know. Maybe they're just doing an investigation and then eventually they'll say, okay, this was an accidental death or a hit and run. But I feel like if he had gotten into a severe fight, law enforcement and investigators would have kind of known that early on. His friends wouldn't hide that. They'd be like, yeah, I kicked his ass, but that's it. I figured we'd be friends afterward.
That's what the investigators intimated to the family. What does that mean?
Well, the road rash itself that they're talking about, that almost sounds like a dragging event, Ash, and you'll get these kind of striated abrasions that come along with that. It's very distinctive when you take a look at this, and that's the transfer of the surface, the friction of the surface to the underlying skin. And keep in mind, and I got to say this, look, you're talking about a kid here that's completely nude. One of the things that I'm going to do anytime, it doesn't matter if male or female, doing a rape kit, going to do a rape kit. And I know that they said that they found underwear adjacent. I want to know the status of that underwear as well. Was it ripped away? Was it twisted and torn? That's something that we see in motor vehicle accidents.
Wow. That is a great point. That would be hell of a motivation if somebody had sexually assaulted him and he was going to maybe come forward say something about it, and this person didn't want to be outed, maybe. Pure speculation. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell would motivate somebody. We have seen cases like that in the past where people become violent, closeted homosexuals who are drugging men. So, I mean, he has a good point. I really don't see any evidence to support that. But I mean, as far as motivation, what the hell would motivate somebody to do this to a person? To me, from the outside looking in, it looks like he was hit by a vehicle, possibly while he was sitting on the ground already.
I want to know how the underwear got off his body, and I want to know where the rest of his clothing is.
Yeah, that's a good question. Where's the rest of his clothing? They found his underwear nearby. I don't know if it was shredded, but I feel like if you're being drugged or dragged, it could pull your clothing off. But apparently his jeans were folded nearby. Wonder if maybe he had them in his hand. Very strange. Okay. Let's hear from his brother. This is a really good interview here. I learned a lot after hearing what he had to say. You can see the pain. It's written all over his face.
He had just said that Noah was in an accident, and so I thought he was in the hospital, you know, and so I come by and I pick up my dad, and we start driving down there, and it's only a 30-minute drive from Comanche, but that drive felt like 2 hours just sitting in silence. And then we show up, and Jack and Caleb and the Jefferson County Sheriff was there, and Noah was covered up on the side of the road with the tarp. And it was just kind of a good 10 minutes just staring at fields, just and a loss of words, you know. When we show up there, everything's going through our minds of what in the world could, because it doesn't look like a hit and run sort of situation, you know. And some weeks go by, and we, you know, they finally rule out the hit and run.
He's telling them that investigators are saying, hey, look, we don't think that this is a hit and run. What the hell else could it be? He gets beaten. Who's beaten? Who beat him? Was it a group of men? Did somebody make a phone call and other people showed up? But remember, this is starting to sound like a conspiracy on the part of those party goers, right? It sounds as if they all were like, yeah, he took off walking. That's it. He took off walking. And then they possibly staged the crime scene, or maybe even dumped him. This could be the dump site. But why? Why would they do that to their friend who they're obviously having a good time with? I don't know. Just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand what the hell happened. It appears to be an accident, most likely a vehicle that's raised off the ground. In order for it to only affect his upper body, I'm assuming that this vehicle might be lifted.
And that 4-day party turned into something awful that happened within just a short hour time span for him. I believe this is his tooth right here. His pants were folded up on that square mark.
His pants were there. His tooth was right there in that circle.
I believe so, yeah. And his body was here. And he was in the fetal position.
Okay, you see those white lines? That's actually law enforcement outlining where the body was, and they circled the teeth. I think there's like 2 or 3 out here. And behind you is train tracks. So if you got hit by the train, you're not going to find him. Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean, is it possible he got hit by the train and kind of just stumbled over here? His legs were intact. I mean, right here, back here, guys, that's the railroad. That's the railroad tracks. But I don't think so. Why was he found with the tarp on him? He's referring to the medical tarp. When they showed up to the scene of the crime, or to the scene, they had already placed the medical tarp over him, meaning he passed away. 100% Boston. They need to talk. If they don't talk now, it's just going to eat at them and their life will be completely destroyed. Now, them being young, they come forward now. They face the fire. They'll probably maybe do 3, 4, 5 years, maybe in jail. 3 most likely. Accidental manslaughter, like a DWI type situation. But I feel like if that was the case, that type of pressure would have gotten to somebody already. So I want to go back to what Don was saying. Don says, I think he got into a fight and an hour or 2 goes by and a guy came back with a ball bat and maybe a friend and caught him alone, in my opinion. It would be interesting to see the wounds. I think it would be easy to tell if your ribs were broken by a baseball bat. I think you would have little round like bruises right over where the broken rib was. And you'd have a couple of those everywhere, and then that be consistent with the wound to the back of the head. Beach Fairy says, I'm also surprised that the head injury wasn't the cause of death. Even though it fractured his skull, he died of internal bleeding from his left side torso where the broken ribs were. See, so maybe it could have been a train. He could have gotten hit by the train and was able to continue walking. I don't know. It's probably not likely. Fetal position. Yeah, usually when you're being surrounded or attacked, I mean, your only hope is to cover up and ball up and cover up all your vitals. That's all you can do. But why are his teeth here? Did they catch him and beat him here?
Facing that way. And his body was covered up with a tarp or a blanket type of thing. And as you're looking at it, you can see blood seeping through the covering and onto the ground. As I'm looking at it, it just seems weird. The placement of the body, the tooth, the shorts, where they're at, doesn't look like a hit and run. Not that I've been aware of.
Have you ever heard them say foul play is suspected?
I've heard suspected of foul play, suspicious death.
Okay, so if somebody came back and did this to him, why would the rest of the group say that he walked off? Did the people who came back looking for him or somebody who was angry with him come back and ask about him? Like, hey, where's Noah? Oh, he took off walking that way. and then they go on after him. Let me pull something up real quick. I think we need a little reference here. Okay. Small town of Terral. Here's the party house. Now, this looks like a gravel road right here. So maybe he takes off walking. Gets into a fight somewhere around here. And his body was found right here. There's also a gravel pit here. And I don't see any other homes really right here that he could have kind of stumbled across. Because I know sometimes if you're drunk or whatever and you go to the wrong home, you think you're at your own house or something. You think you're back at your friend's house. But really you're trespassing. They think you're an intruder. Let's take a closer look here. Pretty sure this is exactly where they found his body. Yeah, there's the tree. Go a little bit further this way. Yeah, so he was found right here. These photos were taken in July, so you're not going to see the paint on the road here. So I don't know if it's possible he was hit by a train. This is an active route. I think this belongs to... Let's take a look. Is that PCR? Or no, this is more of a baby blue. Union Pacific. So that's active Union Pacific Railroad right here. And it goes right through there. So
and again, they don't tell me everything because they don't want to ruin the investigation, but they said that they've got a couple of people in mind on the situation, and that they're really looking in on them. So
Are you able to tell me who those people are?
they haven't told me.
But they have said that they have a few people in mind.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Interesting.
So they have a few people in mind who might be responsible for this.
Somebody's got to know something.
Somebody's got to know something. You know, if there's 40 people standing around and someone, you know, walks off, somebody knows about it. So if 40 people are standing around and somebody gets into a fight, somebody knows about it, you know. And with how close everyone is, with how many pictures are taken on Snapchat, you think that something has to turn up. Somebody has to know something and just doesn't want to say it.
And has law enforcement been pretty open with you about the things that you're hearing or what they are investigating?
Somewhat, they're willing to spread, like, talk about certain things, but then there's some things that's like they don't want to say too much because what if it messes up with the investigation?
Okay, so he had mismatched shoes, issue going on with different types of gravel, seemingly embedded into his flesh. Sounds like it almost indicating that two separate events. His underwear was nearby, but he was completely nude other than two mismatched shoes, one belonging to him, the other belonging to his friend. Pants were folded up nearby, and a few of his teeth were within arm's reach. Sensei, good to see you. I don't know if his jaw was broken. It's my understanding his nose and his cheekbones were really damaged. Okay. Before we get into the discussion part of the live stream, we'll read just this one article here. A newly graduated teenager who vanished from a 4-day party had a fractured skull, broken ribs, and his teeth were scattered around him when he was found naked and dead on the side of a rural highway in Oklahoma. Mystery surrounds the final moments of Noah Presgrove, 19, who told friends he was leaving the party to go for a walk. This part right here, I think this is everything for the case. The folks who witnessed Noah walking away are either covering up for somebody else or they can prove that it was an accident. Right? He went walking. Okay. Was he upset? Was anybody after him? Was he fighting with anybody? No, he just took off walking. Okay. Did anybody leave the party after you saw him leave? No. It was late at night and he just took off, and then we were wondering what happened to him. Another question is, why didn't they go looking for him? Why weren't, who called in? Who discovered his body? So if you have witnesses watching this guy take off walking, he's drunk, you're not worried about him? Let's continue on here. His body was found about a mile away on the side of US 81 in Jefferson County, Oklahoma on Labor Day 2023. Oklahoma Highway Patrol described Presgrove's death as suspicious in mid-September, but now, 7 months later, with the investigation into his death seemingly gone quiet, his family are speaking out and revealing the harrowing nature of his injuries. Presgrove, described as a goofy, fearless, and hilarious by family, had recently graduated from Comanche High School and was enjoying a summer off before he planned to join the military. He'd been at a 4-day 22nd birthday party when friends say he decided to go for a walk, but couldn't find one of his shoes, so he took another instead. Okay, did he leave wearing his pants? Right? If you saw this man leave, what was he wearing? Did he have on his pants? Did he have on his underwear? And two mismatched shoes. What happened after remains a mystery. Presgrove's family say they have not been allowed to see the medical examiner's report outlining his cause of death. I wonder if they're looking for an item. They don't want to tip their hand to that. They might be looking for a murder weapon. When he was found, he was naked except for a pair of his mismatched shoes. His aunt Robin Smith told News Nation there was a wound to the back of his head, different skull fractures. He had ribs broken, and it was all on the left side. His teeth were found scattered on the ground, she said, and he had rashes from road gravel on his shoulder and hip. On the left side, I'm pretty sure. Miss Smith said her nephew's body was severely bruised and swollen when the family saw it at the funeral home. His fingertips appeared to be shredded. What does that mean? Shredded. They say that they didn't think that this was from a vehicle, Miss Smith told the outlet. There was no indication of any kind of injuries to the lower half of his body. Cousins who spoke to KFOR described Noah as fearless, goofy, and hilarious. At the end of the day, what we know is that he lost his life, cousin Lindsay Fowler told KFOR. He was found on the side of the highway, and it appears that he was dumped there, and somebody knows what happened. We want to know what happened. Relatives feel that instead of answers, the OHP has left them in the dark, and they kind of have to. They don't want to tip their hand. It sounds like this is a homicide investigation. And sometimes it could be some involving somebody closer to the family than they would expect. People don't want to go to prison for 10 years because they were drinking and being stupid. And they'll let a family suffer over that. We got to put that pressure on these folks till they cave. Many of Noah's cousins, aunts, and grandparents have been active on a Facebook page called Justice for Noah Presgrove, seeking to raise awareness of his case and pressure authorities for answers. Here's a really good image of Noah. Got the American flag, trucker hat, and then you got either sunrise or sunset. Yeah, that's it. Either they're lying or that's evidence that it was an accident. But they know. Whoever witnessed him or was speaking with him before he took off walking, they know something. They know in their heart it was most likely an accident, or they know somebody was after him. And they lied to police. Yeah, that is true, Beach Fairy. I'm going for a walk. Maybe he had gone for a walk before and came back. Maybe this was his third walk of the 4-day binger. That's my question, Don. If he was dumped, why is his teeth on the other side of the road? I don't buy it. Yeah, I feel like the teeth would be at the point of impact or shortly after. He could have spit them out, coughing up blood, just, and then there they are right in front of you. Okay. So this will be about our 20-minute warning. And I'll kind of go over my initial thoughts. And it looks like they marked a blood trail. I'm assuming the dots are blood and the circles will be the teeth. Yeah, maybe some older guys got upset. I don't know. I just feel like maybe they were out four-wheeling, maybe even like nearby. Because they all look like they had lifted kind of off-road type vehicles. I saw a Jeep Cherokee. I don't know. Were they kind of romping through these fields? Looks like there's a couple trails back here. You see this little area? Maybe they decide, hey, let's go romping back there. They don't realize that he's fallen off the back and they've been dragging him for a while. And then he passes away. And then when they leave this area, they just dump him. Because right here, it looks like you can kind of go through there, right where his body is. So he was found right here. Actually, a little bit right here. But if you want to get back into this area, it's right here where his body was found. What do you guys think about that theory? Yeah, it looks like it's all fenced off over here. Yep, the only real way in there is right here where he was found. See that? His body was right here. So they leave the area and they just dump him right here. Like it was an accident. It's not our fault. Well, we have to call it in. I've been drinking. We've all been drinking. We'll go to prison. What about Noah? What about his family? Think about what you're saying. Do you want to go to prison for 10 years? We can't say anything, all right? Everybody right now, promise not to say. We'll say he went for a walk, and that's it. We don't know what happened. They'll assume he got hit by a car. Yeah, this is right here. His body was found. So right where this vehicle is, that's where his body was found. And this entrance is right here. Yeah, just a thought. Hey, what's up, Robin? And Grandma Saurus. Welcome in. Based off the earlier antics, proving how tough he was by asking people to hit him, it turned into car surfing, but underneath. Holding on under the vehicle. Wow, that's interesting. A horrible accident. And the secrecy is all surrounding the drinking aspect of it all. Fear of going to jail. You guys hang tight real quick. I'm gonna see why my dog is barking. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, so it looks like blood there. Hey, that's a good thought, Grandma Source. That makes a lot of sense. That would explain the folding of the vehicle. Even him maybe even standing up on top of the vehicle. Something strange, you know? But why would he be sitting like this with his teeth right here? Or possibly facing in the other direction? Okay, here's a theory I have. So he wanders off. Doesn't really explain why his pants are off. Or why he's naked. But this is a theory that would kind of explain the type of wounds. So he's just kind of sitting in the street really drunk. Right? This could explain the mangling of his fingers. Now, if he was hit direct on, all his teeth would be gone. His whole face would be completely, it would be obvious, right, that he got hit by a vehicle. But if he sticks his hands out and they get caught in the grill, and he only receives some damage to his face from the impact. Nothing to his lower legs, nothing, you know, untouched. Until the vehicle tries to roll over him. And everything on his left side could have been him kind of turning away from the vehicle, bracing for the impact. And then the teeth end up right here somewhere. Maybe they don't even leave his mouth until after. I have a feeling if he had internal bleeding, he might have been coughing that up. And then the dragging to the left shoulder and the left thigh, or hip, sorry. He could have been wedged momentarily under the vehicle. But that really doesn't explain how he would end up like this. Yeah, what the hell happened, Don? I don't know. I have no clue. But I do know if you have any information, go to the link or go into the description of this video and you'll find a phone number to contact. You can tip it in anonymously. So if you were involved there, just leave an anonymous tip. Or if you know something. But I think that's going to do it for today's episode on Noah Presgrove. I pray that they find answers. But I feel like somebody knows what's going on and they have all the power. So if you know anything, you're holding all the cards. 10, 15 years go by, it's going to eat you up. It's going to affect your family, your children, the success of your life. Probably cause alcoholism, drug abuse later on that you'll end up passing down to your children. So just fess up, own up to it. I mean, the most that's going to happen to you, I would say maybe 5 years for an accidental. Now, if you know somebody murdered this poor guy, I mean, you know what the right thing is. All right, guys. I want to thank everybody who was able to catch the live stream. All my mods, you guys rock. All my members and everybody who's part of the replay crew. Guess we'll catch you on the flip side.